those W's, everybody. Happy Saturday, folks. It's Wardy here, and we're back at it with our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show to get into, presented by our awesome friends at BetUS TV, SeatGeek, and Mando, just to name a few. And today, we're going to get into everything that transpired, inning by inning, in this big victory for the Mets by a final score of 2-0 in Game 2 of a 4-game set in D.C. against the Nationals. Just a night removed from what was a very frustrating, a really pain in the you-know-what end to last night's ball game in a walk-off fashion for the Nationals. Bad fundies by the Mets, a sloppy game overall, and even with the rain not on necessarily the Mets or Nationals side today, causing multiple delays, it didn't stop the Klay Holmes from going a strong 5 shutty in this one that we're going to get into. The bullpen was absolutely nails, and even though the offense didn't have much to give yet again today, one guy that stood out big time was the man that's back in this Mets line better than ever, and that sweet compact swing and El Troll Francisco Alvarez himself. AJ Minter is officially injured, everybody, with right tricep soreness or so tightness that they labeled it. He's going to get an MRI, and he's likely going to be hitting the injured list, so we're going to talk about what the Mets will do with AJ Minter missing some games, because that is what it's looking like to be right now. Very frustrating to see that, but very happy about the Mets win at the same time. A bittersweet victory on this Saturday that we're going to get into. So spam those W's, everybody, as your first chime in watching live on a replay. I want to see all those W's right here, right now. Spam the live show. You guys know what to do by now. Like I said, we're going to break down everything that transpired in this ball game, as we always do. Thank you guys kindly as well to everyone watching this live on a replay. We're happy to have you in here for our latest post-game show, the #1 post-game show here on YouTube, covering the Mets on a nightly basis, not directly affiliated by the Mets themselves, everybody. And you know the drill by now. After a victory, no matter how sexy it was or how sloppy it was, we're going to break it down, and we're going to get into it with the latest, the one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. And in case you guys don't know the jingle, you're going to know it now. We play this after every victory throughout the course of the season, and we covered every game last year, so after every big victory, we played this as well. And Francisco Alvarez led the way for the Mets on the home run front today, and that is a big victory for the boys here. Final score 2-0. Let's get into it, everybody. You know the drill by now. The one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle, baby. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's do this.
Post-game. Post-game. Calling all Met fans, come and join us now. Talking about this game and gonna break it down. It's Mets post-game.
Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan, as always, with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Happy to have you all in here, as always, everybody. Let's do a quick roll call in the chat to all of our live viewers, members specifically, and then let's get on to breaking down this ball game, shall we? We got our guy D in the chat, Arzi, Mr. Delightful, all great members in here. Master Deeble, how are you? Eric, how you doing, baby? Brandon, how you doing? Broken Jester, great member. Andres, how we doing? D-Mac, great member. Dominic, great member. I know my man Steve is watching this somewhere. Steve Lawn attended today's game. Shout out to him, and shout out to representing there in enemy territory. Moon Shadow, great member. How we doing, baby? We got Loud in here. We got Tim in here. We got D in here. Going up the list even more, everybody. JR, great member. We're going up here. Michael, how you doing? Mike O'Brien. Alberto Tito Soto, great member. Chad O'Neill, great member. Leo, great member. Going up here even more, everybody. We got Rebellion, how we doing? Dave Coffer, longtime follower. Carla Pants, how we doing? Mike Norden, longtime follower. Robert, was a pleasure meeting you, Robert, at the Mets game the past couple days there on Wednesday. Hope you're well, my man. Going up here even more. Let's see here. We got Daniel Barry Sports. How are you? Jojo, everybody, come on, come all, as we break down the latest Mets lane, everybody. I'm excited to talk about the boys because, listen, we're going to talk about second base. Don't you guys worry. We did our video that dropped earlier in the AM on what the Mets should do at second base between Acuna, McNeil, and everything in between. And I'm really happy to see what the Mets did today, and that's by throwing Jeff McNeil in center field, having Acuna at second base, and trying to lengthen the lineup in in that way. I love that. I want to see more of that. I'm not opposed to that as long as McNeil isn't a huge defensive liability in center, and hopefully he isn't. Today, he was completely fine. I don't really have any hiccups there, so we're going to get into it, everybody. Let's talk about everything that transpired in this ballgame. As always, like I said, I'm not overall upset about what we got from McNeil at center today, and that's a happy medium for me as a Mets fan. I just want to see Acuna get daily reps because we know he makes a difference on a nightly basis, right? And if Acuna isn't going to be getting daily reps, then it feels like we're kind of wasting away with him being on this roster. So I like the fact that the Mets are going out of their way to get creative and to make sure that they can maximize these guys in this lineup. That is a very important thing. Michael Smith, how we doing? JTB, chime in the chat. Everyone, come one, come all. Hit that like and subscribe on as you chime in, folks, as we're going to get into the individual player performances from Francisco Alvarez to what we got there in Klay Holmes. And yes, once again, no panic. Cranic stepped up for this Mets team just the way that we would hope. Billy Dottie with a $2 holla before the live show even began, and he stayed the following. Nimmo and Vientos need a flip in the lineup. Yeah, I mean, listen, they do actually flip based on pitching matchups. So predominantly, it's going to be Nimmo against right-handers. That means that he'll be batting against righties. If that's the case, then he'll be batting more fourth, whereas Vientos bats fifth. But if it's a southpaw pitching, then it's reversed, where Vientos moves up and he's batting more fourth and Nimmo fifth. And I know the frustration when Nimmo continues. I understand the frustration when someone like Juan Soto to a degree continues right now, as we're all hoping he can ball out against his former team, has yet to do anything of significance for the most part this series. Francisco Lindor with another 3-hit game, so he's doing his part and has been absolutely tremendous for this Mets team. A lot of key takeaways get into in this one, everybody, that I'm looking forward to doing exactly that. Dave Kaplitz, my man, thank you so much. Happy for the win, though, absolutely. And here's the thing, Dave, and this goes for everybody watching this live on a replay. Do we like the Mets playing baseball that isn't the most entertaining baseball? No. But the Mets just came off of a 7-game heater, all at home. They dropped last night in dramatic fashion when they were losing initially and rallied all the way back. Today, they took care of business comfortably, and they should continue to take care of business tomorrow and Monday as well. The boys should, in theory, win 3 out of 4 against the Nationals. Splitting this series, I know that they have a lot of young, exciting pieces there. Don't get me wrong, with Dylan Cruz, James Wood, CJ Abrams, you name it. It doesn't change the fact that this is the New York Mets. We are supposed to be the much better team between the two here, and I expect them to win this series. And this is a great step in the right direction, everybody, but as you see the highlights beside me, AJ Minter was the lone net negative that we saw today because Minter came in and sadly he exited the game with injury. As I alluded to already, everybody, it's been reaffirmed from Carlos Mendoza post-game today that he is going to be getting an MRI, but it does appear that an IL step may be likely already for AJ Minter. So what does that mean, everybody? Step right up and get set for Daniel Nunez, as Nunez is now going to have an increased opportunity to return this Mets team ASAP. He pitched a scroll inning that we saw in Syracuse this past night, so again, won't be long before he returns. And Brooks Raley, who the Mets just signed, even though he can't impact them now, it is kind of insane timing how a day removed from the Mets signing their southpaw Brooks Raley to pair with AJ Minter in this bullpen, once Raley can return there that we see around June or July or so off of his rehab stint, now AJ Minter goes down with an apparent IL stint beginning today that we saw there with that right tricep tightness, soreness, however they labeled it, because initially I believe the label was tightness, but then Mike Puma reaffirmed and said it was right tricep soreness. He's getting imaging, likely an MRI, and that's that, everybody. So let's get into this one. Let's break down this ball game, inning by inning, as always, everybody. And first to 20 tomorrow. What are we talking about in the chat right now, Chris? We don't got to spam it as much, I promise. Let's chill on the spam, just because I don't know exactly what you're... Actually, now I understand what you're saying. I'm just an idiot that can't do math. Christian in the chat, even though they're very passionate, spamming it, so just pump the brakes, Christian. I see it, or I'm going to put you in timeout. Please, I beg of you. It's all you got to do. Christian is thinking and feeling that the boys are going to be the first to 20 wins tomorrow. I hope that is in fact a reality. Christian, I love you, but you got to pump the brakes, or you're going to have to deal with having to not be able to chat for a couple minutes. Just let other people chat, please. We heard you the first a million times. Eric with the $5 holla. Thank you so much for that, Eric. Eric states, 1988 is not too shabby, huh? We just have to enjoy the ride. Also, I like you rocking the OG Mets hat tonight. Seems like it's been a minute. It has been a minute, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That's the final thing I'll mention here that's unrelated to the game itself before we start breaking this down, everybody. That and one other thing, but it'll be very brief, I promise. And that is, everybody, as you guys saw, we're rocking the official New York or Nowhere collab with the New York Mets. Came in the mail today. So I've been wanting a normal Royal Blue Mets hat for a hot minute, specifically like the trucker style, because I have such a big head. A lot of hats don't fit my head properly, but these ones certainly do. So I seek them for that reason. That's why I have the little crown there. And I wanted the New York or Nowhere collab, and I want to get myself something on the varsity jacket realm. And I really don't have anything Mets related quite like this. I was looking at the black one, which was really nice too, but this one I think is just absolutely sick. It's very comfortable. It's very lightweight too. It fits like a glove. This is a medium, and I'm a short schmuck, and it completely fits my torso perfectly for anyone that's wondering how sizing is. And as you guys can see, it says on the back, it's always New York or Nowhere. I absolutely love this thing. I'm probably going to take it off in a minute just because I'm sweating bullets already, but love the fit. I'll be rocking this plenty at games this season, no question about it, and I cannot wait to see you guys at Mets games again as soon as this May, because your boy's going to plenty of games this year. How can you not go to games this year with the way that what this entire Mets team has been rolling, when again, they're not even clicking on all full cylinders yet? I mean, we have, again, trolls in the chat already calling Soto a bum, but here's the thing. You can't even say that Soto's been playing all that great right now because he hasn't. He's down to 235 with his 734. We're going to get into the Juan Soto debate and everything in between, everybody. But final thing from me, and then let's break down this ball game. It is our amazing sponsor at BetUS TV that has you covered with all the latest odds, picks, and lines. And as you guys see beside me right now, the Mets currently have the second best odds to win the National League entirely this year at plus 550. So if you guys are interested in betting, one, make sure you do it responsibly if that's the case. And two, like to buy a bet especially, feel free to sprinkle some dollars if you're really confident in your boys to go out and do the thing this year out of the National League. If you're more confident in the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Braves, or even the Padres, feel free to check out all those other plays here with our awesome friends at BetUS TV that, again, have you covered with all the latest odds, picks, lines, you name it. But without further ado, everybody, let's break down this ball game, and let me just take off this jacket real quick because, like I said, I'm sweating absolute bullets, and this thing is too nice for me to ruin this early into having it the first day. Literally, got it in the mail today, wore it out to lunch. I wore it everywhere that I went today, including the hat. It was really hard not to. I digress, everybody. In the first inning, between the Mets and the Nationals, we had toeing the rubber is Mr. Yeah, you guessed it, Klay Holmes. And on the bump here for the Nationals, a man that I was not all that familiar with up until today, and that's Brad Lord. Brad Lord, the 25-year-old right-hander, got the start here for the Nationals against the Mets. The Mets thankfully avoided someone like Mackenzie Gore today because Mackenzie Gore started right before this series began. He got that final start, I believe, against the Baltimore Orioles. So the Mets here, they had an interesting matchup against Lord, the right-hander, and let's see how they fared because in the first, right away, Francisco Lindor rips himself a line drive single, and the Mets already have their leadoff man on. Color me shocked. Francisco Lindor getting on base multiple times to begin the first couple innings of a ball game. It's almost like he's unbelievably locked in right now, everybody, and we should be ecstatic at what he's doing. And yes, that is in fact the truth. So Francisco Lindor gets on with the leadoff hit that we see, and then afterwards we would see everybody, after it was challenge everybody, Juan Soto would strike out swinging, and Francisco Lindor would be caught there at second base. So it was a strike him out, throw him out double play. Frustrating, especially in the case of Soto, who we want to see produce, especially against his former club now, foe in DC against the Nationals, and we are not getting the Soto production that we're looking for right now. It is frustrating, because at the end of the day, even though I know he's going to get in his groove at some point, now it's a matter of when. And while that's been the case to begin with, it felt like we were finally starting to get it a bit more leading into the Mets past homestand. And then the past homestand, he had a couple solid games where he was heating up more against the Cardinals. And then the Phillies series came around. And it's like as soon as Soto's home run was taken away, what felt like it was going to be a towering 3-run shot there to Upper Decky that we saw a couple nights ago. Ever since then, it's like he's completely disappeared for the most part. So would love to see Soto get in a groove. I said that this is a prime time for him to ball out in a series like this, not just against a former team in a ballpark they know is better than anywhere else in baseball, but also just doing the math, how Juan Soto has 3 home runs this year. What do they all have in common? They're all on the road. So just based on that early math, let's go with the notion that, okay, let's get a Juan Soto at least one, if not multiple home runs this series. And he has 2 games to still make it happen, but the first 2 games in this series have been nothing short of underwhelming. And everyone knows that who's been watching him. Regardless, Soto, Lindor, strike him out, throw him out, double play. And then Pete Alonso strikes out swinging to end it there in the first. Then we get on to the bottom of the first, everybody, where we would see James Wood get on with himself a single, an opposite field single, an infield single. The Mark Vientos just could not get the throw there in time, and then we had ourselves a rain delay, which was very frustrating. After the rain delay, Klay Holmes stays in this ball game, which is important, and gets a flyout on Nathaniel Lowe and a pop out on Josh Bell, which leads us to the second inning. And in the second inning, everybody, we would see Mark Vientos called out on strikes for the second out after Nimmo grounded out, and Jesse Winker with 2 outs would rip himself a single that we would see. So the Mets have a runner on there with 2 outs for Francisco Alvarez. And what does Francisco Alvarez do, everybody? Francisco Alvarez gets all of that one. A hating slider that didn't have all that much slide led to a Francisco Alvarez Oppo Taco. El Troll is officially back, baby. Let's talk about the early success of Francisco Alvarez. He had himself a hit yesterday, a runner thrown out at second base, and now today he goes Oppo with pretty much a line drive home run, well over 100 off the bat there, absolutely destroyed by Alvarez. And what I love so much is the fact of how nice and compact that swing is now. He doesn't look like he's going to hurt himself every time that he takes a home run hack, and the power is naturally there. So we're seeing it right away before our very eyes, getting the Francisco Alvarez that you're hoping and seeing. Now, a lot of people heading into Alvarez returning were saying, oh my goodness, we have to have Luis Torrens getting the bulk of the playing time. And I'm like, guys, why are you forgetting the flows of a 162? As great as Torrens is, and he has been tremendous, Torrens. I can't get over Torrens' hot start for the Mets this year. But we all know guys are going to come down to earth, and we know that you want a proper platoon at DH, and Francisco Alvarez is our future at catcher. He's not just the now, but he's the next number of years that he's supposed to be our go-to guy. And we know the potential of Francisco Alvarez is through the roof. But what have been some of the critiques heading into this regular season with Alvarez? It's been one, health, obviously, because he has been able to stay healthy with the hand the past couple years with fluke injuries. Secondly, it's his batting stance. He's already tweaked it a lot the past couple years to try to have consistency with his offense, and that offense has fluctuated a lot in part because of what we've seen with Eric Chavez, among others, maybe not giving them the right guidance when Alvarez is a true home run gap-to-gap hitter, and he shouldn't be made out to be this slap-hitting guy that he's never going to be in his career, shouldn't be at least, because he's got stupid power to go oppo the way that he just did tonight for this Mets team. Then you add in the defense. What has been a critique for Francisco Alvarez defensively? It's been that, his pop time hasn't been as quick as Luis Torrens. He has been able to get those throws out to second base as well as Torrens, and that's been a problem for Alvarez, who also struggled the past year or so when getting in front of balls. Alvarez, who was tremendous defensively in his first year and a half in the bigs or so, in that 2022 season heading into 2023, he blossomed with the home runs and with the defense in a year where the Mets simply were putrid. But then we come to find out Francisco Alvarez fluctuates a lot with both the offense and the defense. And what has looked good so far? It's everything. The offense has been there. The defense has been there. Throwing out guys at second, framing guys well. How he caught yesterday's game for Senga and today for Holmes, I thought was brilliant. I don't have really much of any critique behind it. So outside of Alvarez, obviously there's going to be some balls that get past him a little bit, and he isn't the best at handling wild pitches every now and then. He does get beat up quite a bit there behind home plate, so I commend him greatly for his efforts on a day-by-day, night-by-night basis. And now the question is, after Alvarez has looked great throughout his first 2 games, does he start a third consecutive game for the Mets tomorrow, or do they go with Torrens and then reevaluate who they want there for Game 4 on Monday? Because I initially said heading into this series that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw both Alvarez and Torrens pretty much evenly split this 4-game series. Alvi gets 2, Torrens gets 2, but you also kind of want to ride the hot hand, right? You don't want to bench Alvarez tomorrow after hitting a bomb today. That just feels like it's counterintuitive and not doing what you should be doing. So I would love to hear from you guys right now, talking about, and Roy, that's okay because I'm going back to the main slide in a minute, but happy to hear that again. A couple minutes was just too much for you not being able to handle a highlight on loop. I digress. Francisco Alvarez, everybody, I would love to hear on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited have you been with him returning the Mets lineup, and what is your expectation for him throughout the course of the 162 between himself and Luis Torrens? I would love to hear it, everybody. I'm a Mets fan. Happy to have you in here. Hate the name, hate the PFP, but we're happy to have you in here if you're in fact a Mets fan, my guys. So as we continue to break down this ballgame, everybody, Francisco Alvarez gives the Mets the early home run heroics, gives them the early 2-0 lead, and the Mets would never look back from there, everybody. They quite literally would do exactly that and just continue to cruise from there. Because after Alvarez hits that home run, McNeil getting his first at-bat, this time at center field, something that he hasn't done at the major league level in a hot minute. D-Mac, thank you so much for the $5 hollow. We'll get to that in a second. second. McNeil grounds out to end things in the second. But D-Mac with a $5 donation states the following, everybody. Encouraging to see that power from Alvy. It doesn't always return right away for players that have had that particular surgery. 1,000%. I couldn't agree more, especially not only with the surgery, but also how would he play up now with this new swing? That's the big thing, right? Because we saw it look solid in spring training. We saw him kind of start to turn on baseballs and look well in doing so, but we haven't seen it consistently with that new swing because, as we know, he went down with injury before the regular season even began. Yep. Alvarez is going to hit 27 home runs and 80 RBIs. That would be amazing, Sanders. If Francisco Alvarez ends the season with just under 30 home runs after missing the first month of the year, I will be a kid in a candy shop jumping for joy. I promise you. But as we continue breaking down this ballgame, everybody, we would see in the bottom of the second, Luis Garcia gets on with a single. Then Keeper Ruiz thankfully gets into a double play. Nice turn by the boys there in the infield, including Acuna. Then we would see everybody. And after it was challenged, Dylan Cruz does get on with an infield single. They initially ruled out, but after review, he is in fact safe. So Dylan Cruz, the pesky mofo, the former second overall pick a couple years ago, Cruz is looking to be a menace against this Mets team all year long. Jose Tena then grounds out into a force out, and that does it there for the inning, which then leads us to the third inning, everybody, because in the third inning, we would see Acuna line out, Lindor get on, that we saw with a single, and that was a bunt single, if I'm not mistaken. Lindor is just so good. I mean, he's so good. We saw Lindor bothered yesterday by the clear hole that was at third base with how deep Tena was playing. Soto saw that too and tried to leg out a bunt single that Soto simply can't because he's not even remotely close to being fast enough to warrant it. And that's the final thing I'll say about that because we spoke about that plenty more than we need to yesterday. But today, Lindor, a day removed after trying to put down the bunt twice and it failed, gets the bunt down today for a single, and that was tremendous. Lindor with another, not multi-hit day, but we're talking a 3-hit day. And the AJ Minter update for anyone first chiming in live on a replay is that Minter does have a right tricep tightness, soreness, whatever you like to label it. He's getting the MRI tomorrow, and there is a stronger likelihood than not that he will be placed on the injured list per Mike Puma of the New York Post. So unless something drastically changes from now up until what we see in the imaging, that's likely going to be the case, which means that you can insert a Daniel Nunez or something along those lines coming from AAA to be the corresponding move when everything is set in stone there. But we're not officially there yet, so we'll see everybody. As we continue on, everybody, thank you kindly for smashing like and subscribe button as you chime in. It always does mean a lot. Help us get to 200 plus likes at the end of the live show to our north of 400 viewers watching us live. And if you guys are watching on replay, let us know in the comments down below as well your biggest takeaways from tonight's 2-0 victory here against the Washington Nationals. I know I want Nunez up just as much as the next guy. You guys know very much so how I feel on the Daniel Nunez front. If you've been following our morning content when we drop the videos in the AM after a night game, probably won't be doing that for tomorrow because the Mets have a quick turnaround, I believe, for a 1 o'clock day game. But I will probably have a video in the AM dropping, I'd say, on Monday because I think they have a 4 o'clock game on Monday, barring changes. So be on the lookout for it, everybody. Left tricep tendon tightness. Okay, I apologize. Right, left. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really think it matters. We just know that he's injured right now, and it makes most sense that it actually is the left and not the right. So I apologize if I had that wrong there because it would make more sense if it was his left side, his actual throwing side, versus it being that. But as we continue to break it down, everybody, in this ballgame, the Mets win 2-0. But how we got there was with a Lindor 1-out single in the top of the third, then a Pete Alonso 2-out single there that we saw, and then Brandon Nimmo would fly out to the end of the inning. Mets strand the runner in scoring position. In the bottom of the third, Klay Holmes gets a 1-2-3. Nice inning of work there. Jacob Young grounds out. C.J. Abrams would have himself a ground out, and then James Wood grounds out. So ground out, ground out, ground out. Klay Holmes looking like Klay Holmes at his best. Devin, thank you so much for the $5 holla. I appreciate that. Devin states, Wardy, do you think Terens can get some first base days on PTH days? No, I don't foresee that happen at all. Thank you so much for the donation, though. Mets are not going to play Terens at first base this year unless they absolutely have to. That's not something that they're going to force body stretch unless it's absolutely needed. Also, Nunez has been getting hit up in AAA. Nunez actually had a scoreless inning for Syracuse yesterday, funny enough. So he hasn't had necessarily the best numbers every single time he's been out there, but he's been productive and he's been getting his innings, and most importantly, he's healthy. So Daniel Nunez has the stuff. We know how well he can play up at the MLB level, and I'm not putting too much stock into what he does or doesn't do in AAA because we already know what he can do at the major league level. As long as he's healthy, that's the most important thing. And one really does eventually return the Mets bullpen. I'm asking Rebellion in the chat right now. It will either be The likely guy is going to be Danny Young. That'll be the corresponding move because Brooks Raley's the perfect Danny Young replacement. Has so much more upside as a better reliever. And this isn't a slight on Young, though. I like to say this because Danny had a really good day today. But Brooks Raley does have more upside. I think we all know that. He was dominant for the Mets in 2023 when the season was otherwise, let's be frank, it was shit. So Brooks Raley can't be back until right around midsummer, which is unfortunate because we would have loved to see him return right away with a guy like A.J. Minter likely going down on the injured list. But at least the Mets do have some nice guys stored in AAA. Outside of Justin Nunez, they also have guys in Jesus Cabrera, who pitched a scoreless inning yesterday too, pitched north of 70 innings last year with the Toronto Blue Jays out of their bullpen. Jose Ureta, who's a really nice swing man and had a sub-3 ERA in 64 and 2/3 innings for the Texas Rangers as a reliever last year. You can also look at Rico Garcia, who's looked good. Tyler Zuber to a lesser degree because Zuber's gotten hit hard, and I think 2 of his last 3 outings, unfortunately, but Zuber is still a fun arm for the Mets to consider. Like I said, they have options in the minor leagues for sure. So I'm not overly concerned, but you never want to see A.J. Minter go down when he's your lone, true, dominant lefty option. And I say that as Danny Young looked nasty today, striking out the side. But as we continue on, everybody, in the top of the 4th, we would see it be a 1-2-3 inning. Mark Vientos, Jesse Winker, and Francisco Alvarez all down in order. That leads us to the bottom of the 4th, where the Nationals do the same thing. Klay Holmes gets a ground out on Nathaniel Lowe, a strikeout on a called strike 3 on Josh Bell, and a ground out on Luis Garcia, which then leads us to the 5th inning. We're in the 5th inning. Jeff McNeil with a hit in it, with his second hit in as many games. Back-to-back games would hit with McNeil returning from his injured list stint. Jeff McNeil now with the single. That leads off the inning. And then we would see, unfortunately, Acuna grounding into a double play, which breaks my heart. Love Luis Angel Acuna. Sadly, just offense wasn't in his favor today, but he wasn't the only one. No one outside of Lindor and Alvarez, for the most part, were even able to hit a lick for the most part today. Dave, so much for the $5 haul. Thank you so much. Dave says, Eric Chavez needs to be replaced. Lousy hitting coach. I know there have been the Chavez debates, and there will continue to be that. Thank you so much for the donation, Dave. I always appreciate it. I'll just say this much. I don't foresee the Mets to do anything drastic on the hitting front, but should it warrant it as we get deeper in the season, we'll have that discussion, of course. I know there are a lot of naysayers on the Barnes and Chavez front, and I don't blame them because we already have seen the media over the past couple days how Lindor actually kind of called Chavez out this past year for what he was doing wrong, and it made him self-reflect and become a better hitting coach, at least in his eyes. So, yeah, it's interesting on the Eric Chavez front, to say the least. But as we continue, everybody, Lindor, after the 2 outs, gets on that we would see what a single, and this would be his bunt single. I apologize, folks. I said earlier that his second hit I thought was a bunt. I was completely wrong. That his second hit was a normal hit. His third hit was that bunt single there on Jose Tena at third base because Jose was playing so deep. And then Juan Soto grounds out there to Keibert Ruiz, literally dropped right in front of him. Terrible at bat, and that does it for the inning. In the bottom of the 5th, everybody, Keibert Ruiz, Dylan Cruz, and they go back-to-back in the groundouts. Jose Tena gets on with a 2-out single, but then a Jacob Young strikeout does it, everybody, for Klay Holmes' final line, and it is as follows. Klay Holmes gives the Mets today 5 innings of 0 walks, 0 earned run, 2 strikeout, 4 hit ball, now down to a 2.64 ERA on the season. Klay Holmes is looking as nasty and as sharp as ever. Even though he didn't have the swing and miss stuff working today for Klay Holmes that has already, north of a 10-plus strikeout outing this season, doesn't change the fact that he was as effective as one could hope for today. And when we take a look, and I did hear about Ramon Gomez, Mr. Chicken. I'll bring that up before we wrap up the show as long as you remind me. Very cool story regarding him in the minor leagues, absolutely. But getting back to Klay Holmes, everybody, Klay had the 6-pitch mix working yet again today with the sinker topping out at 37%. Really trying to utilize against those lefty batters specifically to get those key groundouts, and it worked outside dotting up a couple batters that we saw. But the sinker, 37% of the time, topped out 95, sat right around 94. Sweeper, 24% of the time today, topped out 83, sat 82. The changeup, 20% of the time, topped out 91, sat 89. The cutter at 13%, topped out 91, and sat right around 89, 90. And the slider at 4%, topped out at 89, and sat right around 88. And the four-seam fastball that he threw just once was right around 94 miles per hour. So Klay Holmes, have yourself a day, baby. And I would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. How would you grade Klay Holmes on a scale of 1 out of 10 out of a 5 shutty outing? Because, folks, I'm giving Klay a solid 6.5 out of 10 today. The guy only went 70 pitches through 5 innings. He would have gave the Mets 6 or 7 innings today if it wasn't that rain delay gap after the first 12 minutes of this ball game. Klay Holmes was not wavered at all after coming in after that short delay, and he was as advertised. So Klay Holmes deserves a strong grade today. If he went deeper, I obviously would have had him higher, but he gets a solid 6.5 out of 10 from your guy Wardy, and hopefully next time Klay Holmes is out there, we don't have to worry about some inclement weather, and he can go out and give us, say, north of a 6 or 7 strong inning outing for Klay Holmes, the Tyrant right-hander at 6'7", and man, oh man, has he been exciting there. Between the kick change, the sweeper, the sinker, and the cutter, all in the back pocket for him, Klay Holmes continues to look like a true starting weapon for this New York Mets team. Something that Yankees fans laughed and scoffed at the notion of this past offseason, but that's because they can't grasp the reality of what a pitching lab is, and they should, considering Desi Drewskull, the assistant pitching coach from the Yankees this past year that helped lead them to the World Series, came to the Mets this past offseason in a lateral move to work alongside Jeremy Hefner as yet again the assistant pitching coach, and to rekindle that relationship from this past couple years with Klay Holmes to now stretch him fully as a starter. So having Desi is vital in part to Klay Holmes' early success this season, as it also is great for the comfortability of Klay Holmes outside of the performance, dealing with his pitch shape, dealing with the differences in his arsenal, working on that kick change heading into the season. A lot of good things to take away from what we're getting right now in Klay Holmes, everybody. So again, let me know on a scale 1 to 10, how are you guys feeling in the chat as well in the comments down below on the Klay Holmes front as he goes 5 shutty for the Mets on right around 70 innings today. You'll love to see it. As we continue on from here, everybody, let's get on now to the 6th inning. The Mets go down in order as Alonso, Nimmo, and Vientos strike out swinging. Nasty work there that we saw by the Nationals pitching staff, and I really didn't appreciate it. And that wasn't Lord, the right-hander, because he only lasted 4 innings, but it was Salazar there who came in relief after the fact, and he just was disgusting that inning. The Mets couldn't hit a lick whatsoever. And the bottom of the 6th, we would see C.J. Abrams begin the inning there with a single off of Mr. Danny Young, a lefty-lefty action, but then it's a huge strikeout on James Wood. It's a huge strikeout on Nathaniel Lowe looking, and then it's Josh Bell swinging and missing for a huge striking out the side after giving up the leadoff hit is Danny Young there, and he did a fantastic job and deserves his flowers. As someone who has been a heavy critic of Danny Young in the past, there's nothing that I want more than for the guy to thrive the way that we know he can. Yuna in the chat, thank you so much for chiming in. We're happy to have you in here as always, my friend. Yes, we're riding high after a nice 2-0 victory for the Amazons here, but Danny Young did his job today, and he's now at a 4.32 ERA in the season, which is not sexy by any stretch, but again, it's not about what you've done in the past versus what you're doing right now, and Danny Young was nothing short of dominant today for the Mets, and I will gladly take that. And as we advance to the 7th inning, everybody, we would see the Mets get nothing going after a ground out by Winker, and Alvarez strikes out. We would see Jeff McNeil would be out there on a bunt ground out upon review, seeing if he was safe or not, but he was in fact out, and that did it there for the top of the 7th. Because in the bottom of the 7th, Reed Garrett comes in, and Reed Garrett gives up a single to Luis Garcia, but then he gets a force out on Keeper Ruiz, another single to Dylan Cruz, a flyout then to Jose Tena, and a line out by Jacob Young escapes the jam unscathed. Reed Garrett continues his Houdini magic ways. In the 8th inning, everybody, the Mets go down in order as Acuna, Lindor, and Soto do nothing, sadly. And then the bottom of the 8th, we would see C.J. Abrams strikes out on a called strike 3 there, facing A.J. Minter, but then A.J. Minter, as we all know, exited today's game there with that left tricep tightness, soreness, and he's likely going to be on the IL because he's getting an MRI officially tomorrow. Here comes Max Cranic, everybody. A no panic Cranic comes in, and he gives up a walk to James Wood right away. Then he strikes at Nathaniel Lowe, and he gets a pop out on Josh Bell, everybody. We talked about how good not only Danny Young looked today, and how good Klay Holmes has looked, but guys, can we please take a minute or two to appreciate the dominance today that was Max Cranic, because Max Cranic continues to impress every single time out there. Max Cranic has now brought a new meaning to No Panic Cranic. You know, it was fun wordplay in the beginning, but he has truly shown his ability to step up in high leverage situations, coming off cold. He's done it now twice this past week, and he has been absolutely nails for the Mets when called upon. I can't get over what Max Cranic has done for this Mets team so far this season. It has been nothing short of a treat to watch him every single time that he has been out there now. And as you guys can see, Max Cranic's numbers this season are the following: 16.2 innings of 11 hit, 1 walk, 5 earned runs, 10 strikeout ball, is now down to a 2.70 ERA on the season. And just for some context as to how good Max Cranic has been in these high leverage situations, everybody, because this cannot be understated, just listen to the following. This is the same Max Cranic that we cannot forget started the season season by getting thrown in the fire to face Jordan Alvarez there that we saw in a jam, and he got a pop out there for Mark Vientos at the third base, and then he got another out there afterwards to escape the jam for his season debut as a New York Met, who grew up a diehard Mets fan, mind you. Then we see he retires 23 or 24 batters faced to start the season. Kind of a big deal. Then he goes on and he's gone 5+ outs, and 6 out of 11 outings. So he's been a huge workhorse by giving us more than just a 3-inning outing minimum. He has been absolutely dynamo and coming in cold that we've seen now twice in the last 3 days or so, games-wise for the Mets. And he has stepped up as much as one could possibly ask for. Max Cranic, everybody, let's talk about it, because I said heading into the season how Cranic has the potential to truly be a weapon for the Mets in the bullpen this year. But he has now entered territory as being one of the most reliable weapons in the Mets bullpen. Do you guys understand what that means? That is a big deal to have Max Cranic being able to handle high and low leverage as consistently and as dominant as he finds himself doing right now. So Mets fans, we should all be ecstatic with what Max Cranic has done this season, what he will continue to do. But I would love to hear from you guys now in the chat, in the comments down below. How impressed have you been with Max Cranic so far this year, and how he's been able to step up in the face of adversity, and he has not panicked whatsoever, really living up to the no panic Cranic name. And this guy's just nasty when we look at the entire pitch mix, right? Danny Young had this pardon me, everybody, the sinker and the sweeper working. Reed Garrett had the sinker, cutter, sweeper, splitty working, and we know Reed there always doing nasty work. But Max Cranic today, everybody, 4-seam slider, sinker, cutter. 4-seaming through 53% of the time to get these final outs. Topped out 97, sat 95. Slider, 37% of the time, topped out 89, sat right around 89. Sinker that he threw once was at 94, and the cutter once was right around 89, 90. Max Cranic has been fantastic, everybody. And I would love to hear again how you guys feel about him in the chat, in the comments down below. Let's see. Why do I have to wait for May? What's wrong with April? What are we talking about, Danny, in regards to waiting for May? I'm not sure what you're referring to exactly. But as we continue on, everybody, the ball game is almost over. We're almost done breaking it down. But before we get there, let's get into the final inning or so, because we would see BrandonNYM, not BrandonNYM, I apologize. Pete Alonso gets on with a leadoff walk there in the ninth inning. Then Mark Vientos gets on with a 1-out single after NYM would strike out swinging. Funny enough, about Mark Vientos' single, it was perfectly placed exactly where he had the ball yesterday. That was right out of the reach of Dylan Cruz. Fair first baseline to be the bases clearing triple. This time, it's a single opposite field for Vientos, but just absolutely insane. The airtime and how the ball dropped right on the inside of that first baseline for his second consecutive day that we saw there. Think Pete Alonso is going to win a Gold Glove? I hope so. We need to see Francisco Lindor win a Gold Glove with the Mets, though, before we worry about that. That needs to happen first and foremost. That goes without saying. Alvarez, though, would strike out for the final out for the Mets today, and as Edwin Diaz comes in the ninth, Edwin strikes out Luis Garcia swinging. Nasty work right away there that we saw by Edwin, getting that slider to bite on roughly 90 miles per hour. Then Keeper Ruiz gets on with a walk because Edwin Diaz, of course, has to walk a batter. Only the second walk the Mets display this entire ball game. Bobby G, how we doing in the chat? Eric Roper, how we doing, baby? Happy to have you all in here. Oh, and I understand what you're saying, Denny. I want him to perform more now in the case of Soto. Trust me. We just have to hope that starts as soon as tomorrow, because Juan Soto's getting paid the big bucks for a reason. We need Juan Soto to go out and be that guy that's having us oohing and ahhing on a nightly basis, and not having already fans, like some have chatted to me, saying how I'm already ruining Juan Soto playing today. Like, that's kind of ridiculous to say when the Mets are now, again, 11 games above 500, saying this kind of stuff, when we know that he hasn't been too much of a liability. But I also understand how he has been an overly positive piece of the puzzle yet either. So I do see both sides of the coin. I won't critique you guys for it. But Dylan Cruz was strike out there on high heat. Disgusting work there. 98 gas upstairs on Cruz. And then the final out, we would see striking out swinging. The number 9 hitter is Jose Tena. Tena can't handle it, and Edwin Diaz has himself another beautiful inning, a huge inning, a big confidence booster there against Tena, the number 8 hitter, not number 9. I apologize, because Diaz has definitely struggled that we've seen so far this season. So it was great to see him actually have command and control for a change. And the Mets were 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position and left 5 on base in total in this matchup, everybody. But they still did win a nice, comfortable one. 2-0 is your final score. The boys are 19-8 on the season. They're looking for number 20 on the win column tomorrow, everybody. We have to hope that we get there. Your guy Wardy is about to sign out now because I have a busy night still hanging out with family. We have some family-related birthdays going on tonight, so I apologize for cutting you guys short. I usually like to go north of an hour for each live show, and I just usually cut things off for people on replay around the 40-minute mark. But I'm going to have to cut things off for everybody tonight, folks, because we have a quick turnaround of a day and a game tomorrow, and your guy Wardy is not done with his festivities this evening. So before I let you guys all go, let me relay the following things. Are the Mets playing on all full cylinders? No, not even close. They're not even remotely close to playing the best baseball that they can right now. And the fact that the Mets are basically, having won 9 of their last 10 should have you very encouraged, or close to, right? 8 of their last 10 or 9 out of their last 10. Either way, they have been on an absolute heater so far this season, and we should appreciate that for what it is, knowing that they're still the best has yet to come. Alonso with a 333 average and over 1,000 OPS. Lindor with a 314 average and an 859 OPS. Soto with a 235 average and a 734 OPS. That needs work. We know that. Nemo at 200 and 600. Needs to be better. Vientos is at just about the Mendoza line, which is huge given his very slow start. 617 OPS. Winker 200 with a 662 OPS. But Winker usually does his Winker usual stuff, so I'm not really as bothered by that in a platoon setting. Alvarez 250 with an 875 OPS. McNeil with a 286 average, 572 OPS. Not complaining there. Tyrone Taylor 176 there with a 461. And then Acuna with a 268 average and a just under 700 OPS on the season. So, folks, that is what I'm going to leave you with. The boys are in first place while they're not even playing remotely close to their best baseball. Juan Soto hasn't played at all like Juan Soto yet. Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea haven't even arrived yet. The best is yet to come for this Mets team, and I look forward to breaking down with each and every one of you when that, in fact, becomes a reality. Enjoy the rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you guys are watching this. This is our latest WardyNYM postgame show presented by our friends at SeatGeek. Check them out by clicking that link down below in the description. Using our promo code WARDY10 for your next purchase on whatever you want to buy, and the ticketing app for all your ticketing needs. Check out BetUS TV should you guys have interest for all the latest odds, picks, lines, you name it. And check out our awesome friends at Mando for some of the best deodorant in the game today. Thank you guys again, as always, no matter what. Let's go Mets, baby.